This is Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my video. As always, please like and subscribe. I sincerely appreciate that. Please hit that thumbs up button. That'll help my channel out. In this video, I thought I would review 3 classic jazz albums, 3 legendary jazz albums. Matter of fact, one of them is a jazz fusion album. But I thought I'd do a series of reviewing some of these legendary or classic jazz albums because I've been ignoring them. For example, I don't think I ever officially reviewed Miles Davis's album, Kind of Blue, or albums like that. So I thought I'd go back and do a series, just review some of these legendary and classic jazz albums. So if you have any suggestions, please leave your comments in the comment section below, and maybe I'll consider putting those or reviewing them in a future review video down the line. But I thought I would, again, I'm review 3 in this video, and I thought I would start with this album, Ella and Louie. I believe this was originally issued on Verve Records in 1956. This is an Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds 45 RPM version of the record. I've had this for a few years, and this album, people don't realize the legendary musicians that are on this legendary album. You have the beautiful voice of Ella Fitzgerald, the trumpet and the voice, beautiful voice and great trumpet of Louis Armstrong. You have Oscar Peterson on piano, Ray Brown bass, Herb Ellis guitar, Buddy Rich on drums. So this is a legit, serious, legendary jazz album where you have, again, Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald surrounded by jazz royalty, jazz legends. Hopefully the song listing is coming out on the video. But the performances on this album, I mean, this album, you have that pure and beautiful voice, that clear voice of Ella Fitzgerald, and that classic unique voice of Louis Armstrong. And you know Louis Armstrong, his trumpet style, every time you hear him. This is a landmark album. This particular album is like, this album is very mellow in terms of the performances. It's very like laid back, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a very laid back jazz performance. It's like when me and my wife, I said this in previous videos, it's like me and my wife when we go to Disneyland, we come home, you know, spend all day and part of the night there. It's 11 o'clock at night. This is a type of late night listening session music, jazz listening, late night listening music that you want to play at that particular point in time because of its, you know, kind of laid back nature. There's some great performances on this album, especially the song Moonlight in Vermont. There is a very nice vocals and trumpet play by Louis Armstrong, great vocals by Ella Fitzgerald. There's another song here called Tenderly. I believe that's the song where I think at the end, and I could be wrong, it sounds like Ella Fitzgerald is mimicking the scat style of Louis Armstrong. At least I think that's Ella Fitzgerald's voice on that song and not Louis's. But what a sensational album this is. Also, April in Paris is quite a nice song on this album as well. Those of you who are not familiar with this record and like 1950s jazz, like 1950s vocals, this is a sensational album. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I'm going to review this album. I'm going to start with the sound first. The voice of Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong's trumpet were vivid and clear in the mono sound stage. If I failed to mention this, this is a mono record now. Apologize for not doing that up front. This is a mono record issued by Verve Records in 1956. Again, this is an Analog Productions Acoustic Sound reissue album. This also is a 45 RPM version of the album that I have. And like, again, you can hear the clearly the voice of Ella Fitzgerald, super clear. It's just vivid. Same with Louis Armstrong's voice and his trumpet. The drawback is the backing band with Oscar Peterson piano, Herb Ellis guitar, Ray Brown bass, Buddy Rich drums. it's more recessed in the soundstage in terms of dimension, in terms of vividness, in terms of being able to hear them a little bit more clearly when they're accompanying the voices of Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. Could have had more presence, in other words, is what I'm trying to say, the backing band. Maybe that was done by intention, I'm not sure, but I thought it could have had a little bit more forward presence and detail, the backing band, in my opinion. Nonetheless, I do agree, this is a legendary, great album. It sounds great, performance is great. If you like 1950s jazz, some of you may not be into that, the jazz from that era. I am, but that is a great example of very great vocal jazz from 1956. Again, Louis Armstrong, you know his trumpet when you hear it. What a nice performance. But I'm going to get to the sound first. The sound, I'm going to give it 8.75 to 9 because, again, you cannot hear the backing band. It's clear and dimensional, in my opinion, but you do hear the main players, Ella and Louie, spectacularly. The performance gets a 9.75. A sensational performance by Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. Again, if you're into jazz from that era, check it out. If you're not into jazz from that era, maybe you can start listening to it and give that one a shot. Maybe that'll turn you on to jazz from that era. The next album I'm going to review is a jazz fusion album from 1972. I think I talked about this or discussed this in a previous video. But this is a legendary album, so I thought I'd include it in this one. Chick Corea, Return to Forever. This was issued in 1972 on ECM Records with this great jazz fusion band. Chick Corea, electric piano. Joe Farrell, flutes, soprano saxophone. Flora Purim, vocals and percussion. Stanley Clark, electric bass, double bass. Atro Moreira, Flora Purim's husband, drums and percussion. The first, best of my knowledge, this was the initial album for Return to Forever. Soon after Chick Corea left Miles Davis's band to go out on his own. And this album is highlighted, in my opinion, by the song on side 2. I'll show you the song listing, oh, by the way. The song on side 2 is a highlight and standout song and composition on this album because of the tremendous time and space. This is 23 minutes 18 seconds long. The time and space, it allows for solos, it allows for interplay between musicians. You hear Flora Purim's voice beautifully in the middle of the sound stage. The percussion is spectacularly clear on this particular song. It's called Sometime Ago La Fiesta. Sometime Ago La Fiesta. And it's so wide and dimensional, clear. It really is. It was extremely well recorded, in my opinion, the song on side 2. And it really represents this particular band on this particular album at their best on this particular album. I'm going to get to the best Chick Corea Return to Forever album in a minute after I review this record. Also, Return to Forever, the first song on side 2 was quite good. And What Game Shall We Play is a nice vocal performance by Flora Purim on that song. A tremendous jazz fusion record from 1972 by Chick Corea, Return to Forever. It represents jazz fusion from 1972 in a sensational way, in my opinion. If I were to judge this record, I'm going to start with the sound first. The sound on this one gets a 9.5 because, especially when you listen to side 2, it's so rich, full, and dimensional. Like I said, the percussion is surprisingly great in the sound stage. It almost surprised me when it appeared. I think it was like inside of the left speaker, a little bit tall, and sounded great. It really did. Again, Flora Purim's voice was in the center of the sound stage on the song on side 2, Sometime Ago La Fiesta. What a sensationally great sounding record, in my opinion. If you can get a clean copy. This copy happens to be clean. I play this on my Rega P8 turntable with a Apheta 3 cartridge. The sound gets a 9.5. The performance gets a 9. This is a solid Chick Corea Return to Forever album from 1972. What a nice performance from 1972. Is that the best Chick Corea Return to Forever album? In my opinion, it is not. I know a lot of you out there view his later works with Lenny White, Al Di Meola as the best part of Chick Corea Return to Forever. I definitely do not. I think that is this album here, Chick Corea and Return to Forever, light as a feather. I think this is the band at their peak, in my opinion. Chick Corea's version of Return to Forever on this album is Return to Forever at their peak. It's just, this is a sensational jazz fusion album. If you have not heard it, I know I'm reviewing this album in this video, and I talked about this album in previous videos, but I just wanted to let my audience know, in my opinion, this represents Chick Corea Return to Forever at their peak. And again, I know some of you like the later works, you know, Al Di Meola, Lenny White, Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke, you know, that band. No, I think this represents the band at their peak, in my opinion, in terms of, you know, the interplay between musicians, the compositions. The compositions are fresh, you know, they're just playing tight. The best Chick Corea Return to Forever album, in my opinion. Lastly, I'm going to review one more classic jazz album that I did a comparison video, but I don't think I ever reviewed this album, so I thought I'd just talk about it in this video. And again, if you have any albums you want me to review in future videos that are classic albums that I didn't talk about in previous videos, just leave your comments in the comment section below. Dave Brubeck, Quartet Time Out, issued in 1959. This version is an Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds 45 RPM version of the record. I did a shootout video or comparison video in the Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds version 1. However, at the time, I did not have the Classic Records version of the album at the time. And I really have not done a comparison between the Classic Records version and the Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds version. They both sound quite good, I must say. This one here, though, it is known for being, at least in my opinion, this is a great audiophile record. It really is. It was recorded very well. You can hear a little bit of the tape hiss, but that's not a problem for me. But, you know, this album that I believe Dave Brubeck was in the right speaker, Paul Desmond and Eugene Wright were in the center of the soundstage, and Joe Morello on drums was in the left speaker. But it's so full in dimension. I think it was captured well on magnetic tape in 1959 when they did this recording session. And it, like I said, it comes across spectacularly on this Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds version of the album and the Classic Records version of the album. The standout songs, this is a famous album. A lot of you know the standout songs in this album. Blue Rondo a la Turk, I should say. What a sensational performance. Paul Desmond is a standout on this record. He and Joe Morello on drums, Take 5, his legendary jazz performance on Take 5, how dimensional that jazz performance is on drums, where you can hear his drum kit just like he's in a left speaker, and you just hear echo and delay go to the center of the sound stage. What a tremendous effect in terms of this particular recording. No doubt this was a great recording. Like I said, you do hear some tape hiss. In terms of sound, I would give the sound on this one probably like a 9.5, between a 9 and a 9.5. I thought it was captured well and comes across greatly on my copy of it. I have close to a original pressing of this as well. The performance, I'm going to give a 9 too. It's solid throughout. I mean, you have a beautiful song like Strange Meadowlark. That's a beautiful song for the band. Again, like I said, Take 5 is a standout. Dave Brubeck, Time Out, a legendary classic album. So I thought I reviewed this album in this video because I never assessed it and gave it a score. So this is my first video where I'm going to go back and review some of the more classic, legendary jazz albums. Again, if you have some, if I decide to keep the series going, we'll see how this video goes. Maybe I'll consider some, recommendations from an audience, assuming I have the records. Some of them I did reviews on already, but I thought I'd start with those three. Thank you very much for viewing my video. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. Please hit that thumbs up button. Thank you very much for viewing. God bless, strong love, and more important than the music, let's keep the peace worldwide.